In addition to being able to modify existing exercises in the way we want, we can create our own exercises from scratch. We will briefly describe the different types of exercises that exist to have an idea of the possibilities offered by the authoring tool. From within a lesson, we can create new exercises using the new exercise button that appears in the lower part of the lesson content, so the new exercise will be added at the end of the lesson. You can also use the settings button of a chapter so that the new exercise will be added at the end of the chapter. The first thing that we'll have to do is set the title that we assign to the new exercise. Next, we will have to set the format or type of exercise among the available ones. Showcase. New words, phrases, or conversations are presented. The student can practice the pronunciation of the new terms or phrases and the writing of the same ones. Image identification. A series of images are shown and the student must click on the correct image guided by voice playback or by a text on the screen. Screens. Multiple screens or items that combine images, video, voice, static text, and interactive questions with text input and simple or multiple selection. Video. A video is displayed where there are options so that subtitles are introduced in the video, that the student can dub it, or that he can record his own answers to what is asked in the video. Pairs. A student must match pairs joining the elements of two columns. Vocabulary practice. Reinforcement exercise and free practice of vocabulary terms. Word sort. The student must put the words in order to build a phrase. Sentence sort. The student must put sentences in order to build a conversation. Assignment. Free exercise of written or spoken expression. Bear in mind that this type of exercise requires the revision of a tutor to be graded. Dictation. Exercise to practice listening and writing skills. The student must write the text corresponding to the audio he is listening to. Word search. Jumbled letters in a box with hidden words to reinforce and practice vocabulary. Assessment. Evaluate exercise of a text entry and simple or multiple selection in single screen format and image, video, and voice content. For example, the showcase exercise type consists of a series of items with an image and an audio so that the student learns new terms or phrases. This type of exercise is widely used as it serves to present new words or phrases, introducing a new vocabulary to the student and allowing him to practice. After writing the statement, we can begin to introduce the different items. We can use the Create New Item option, paste them from another exercise if we have previously copied them, or import vocabulary terms to use them in this exercise. As in the statements, in the terms we can include the translation of the same to different languages. This can be especially useful for new terms or at simpler levels. To add the image, you can use one that you have in your computer, look for some of those that are available among the Dexway resources, or assign a temporary image with a text. In this case, we are going to select an image that we have in our computer. And then we will include the voice or audio of that term or item. Remember that to introduce the audio, you can use the voice synthesizers provided by the tool, Brian, Amy, or Emma for the British English version, for example. Record it directly from your microphone, select the audio from a file on your computer, or use the search engine to locate an audio between Dexway resources. By default, this search option tries to locate the audio from the text that we have entered, but we can search for the audio that we want from the search field of the upper part.
Office.
We are going to introduce another item in this exercise with another term to practice. In this case, we will select the image by looking for it among the Dexway resources.
Table.
Table.
We have already mentioned the import vocabulary option, which allows searching for a term among all the Dexway resources and importing it as a new item in the exercise. This option is usually very useful, especially in this type of exercise, since we can insert a term with its image, audio, and translations. Also, remember that after inserting it, you can always customize it, changing the image or the other elements of the item. The parameter voice recording of the exercise allows the student to record their voice after hearing the term to practice the pronunciation of it, while writing allows the student to practice writing the term. It is convenient to try the exercises that we create or modify in some way to verify that they really work well and their behavior is adequate. Remember that we can do this from the play button of the exercise.
Office.
Office. Office.
Office.
Table.
Company.
Remember also that from the Properties tab of the exercise, you can change the title of the exercise and indicate the objectives. From the Showcase exercise format, you can create other types of exercises such as image identification, vocabulary practice, and word search. For example, you can duplicate the exercise and then change its format. In the new cloned or duplicated exercise, you can change its characteristics, format, enunciation, items, etc. In this type of exercise, image identification, the student must select the appropriate image according to the audio that he or she listens to, or according to the text that is shown. The listening parameter makes the student identify the correct image by listening to the audio without seeing the text until it is correct. The voice recording parameter allows the student to practice his or her pronunciation once the image has been identified. Remember to review the exercise to verify that everything is fine.
Staff. Staff.
Table. Table.
The vocabulary practice type is an exercise to freely practice the vocabulary you learned. The student himself determines that if he has learned each word, trying to identify it from a definition or translation, and practicing its pronunciation and writing.
Staff. Staff.
The word search exercise is also a reinforcement and practice of vocabulary. The students learn to recognize the words they study by finding them in a box of jumbled letters and practicing their writing and pronunciation. From the hints parameter, we can select if we want to show some clues to the student, the words look for, or the image of the words to look for, accompanied or not by audio. The reverse positions parameter increases the difficulty of these exercises, allowing the words to be shown in the opposite direction, from right to left and from bottom to top.
Company. Company.
In the type of exercise pairs, we have to introduce several items, indicating the relationship between them so that the students will have to relate them. In this case, in addition to the text, we can introduce an audio which will be played when the student matches the elements.
Go hiking.
Play basketball.
The exercise format word sort is also very simple. Each item has a text which consists of a phrase with several words that will appear disordered to the student and they will have to sort them. Each item can also have an audio. In this word ordering exercise, the listening parameter reproduces the audio that each item has before the student performs the ordering of the phrase. In this way, it can serve as a guide to put it in order. If you do not activate this parameter, the audio of each item will only be played after the student has ordered the phrase.
Why are you studying English?
The sentence sort exercise format is similar to the previous one. Several items are introduced, each with a sentence, and the student has to put all these sentences in order so they create a conversation. The listening parameter works as a guide to let the students listen to the conversation before it's restored. The screens format is very versatile. The student is shown a series of screens, the different items of an exercise, each of which can have an image, a video, or an audio, and also a text or a question that appears for the student, which may consist of a series of options for the student to select one or several, or a field for the student to write. We are going to create an item in which we will include an image and a question for the student. Note that we have created a text field in which the student must write, indicating the text that the student must enter in square brackets. After writing the text, we can include an image and an audio in the item.
He looks about 60 years old.
If we wanted, we could also include an initial audio, which would be played before the student answers the question that is being asked in this item. As always, you can review what this type of exercise looks like pressing the play button.
He looks about 60 years old.
To add more correct answers to the text field so that the student can answer any of them, you can include them separated by the character of the vertical bar. Remember that these aspects can be consulted through the syntax help button, where you will see all the available possibilities with examples to serve as a reference. Instead of a text field, you want the student to select the correct answer among several possible ones. You can also indicate it in brackets, indicating the element or the incorrect elements preceding by the minus sign.
He looks about 60 years old.
Let's see some more options for this type of exercise. From the edit link of an item, we can activate the automatic advance option, which automatically advances to the next item once the current item has finished. For example, different images and an audio are shown in each item. When the audio of one item ends, it automatically passes to the next one. This allows us to have a kind of story or scene. This option could also be used to insert a video or audio that would serve as an introduction to the exercise, accompanied by text or not. You can insert this video or audio in an item so that when the video or the audio phrase ends, it will automatically continue to the next item, starting with the questions of the exercise. The header content option indicates that this item will be used as a header for the exercise, being shown at the top of the entire exercise, while the rest of the items appear. This can be used to introduce in this header item some text or image that always has to appear while performing the exercise, for example, because the rest of the items consist of questions about said text or about said header image. Related to this last section, the option Display Independently shows the item independently, that is, without the header that was previously defined. If in an exercise the text legacy, or classic, is shown, this indicates that it is an exercise in an old format that needs to be converted in order to be edited with the authoring tool. By using the Edit this exercise button, in case it can be converted, this button will not appear. When converting the legacy or classic exercise type to the current format, you have the option to keep the original exercise so that it can serve as reference or help when modifying the exercise with the current format. When you are creating, modifying, or configuring the exercises of a lesson, right next to the exercise number, the editable exercises are indicated by a black dot. While in the external exercises, which have been linked from another course, the dot is not filled. In the editable exercises in the status column, you can indicate the status of the exercise under construction, to be reviewed, or ready. This is simply a visual aid that can be used to quickly see the status of an exercise of a lesson you are creating or modifying. Finally, in addition to creating new exercises in a lesson, from the tool's Search Exercises option, we can select an exercise to be imported into the current lesson from the entire Dexway resource library. After using one or more text strings to find an exercise, click on the Search button to locate the exercises. When you select an exercise, you can see it in the right part of the window from the More link that is shown to the right of the name of the selected exercise. You can open the exercise in question or copy the identifier of it in order to use it in your course. Once you copy the exercise, you can use the paste option to include it in your course. Then you can modify the exercise or its various items, add or delete items, change the position of the exercise in the lesson, etc. As you can see, there are a variety of exercises, parameters, and options. We have seen some of the most significant and used possibilities, but you can use any of the available exercise formats and any options. It is advisable to test the various parameters and see the result in the execution of the exercise to test the effect of each. With all possibilities, you can create many different types of exercises using all possible combinations.